Hi, third graders. It's good to see you coming back to your video solutions for your DMA. We are on week 11, day 2. So we're going to please make sure that if you do your problems correctly, put a star. If you, or you could also put a happy face. If you make an error, please also with a pen, make a correction using your pen. These are important because we are taking time to reflect and review important strategies and important skills. So be sure to keep coming back to your solutions for our warm-ups. Let's look at our first problem. It says a swimming pool has 20 swimmers. So this is, if you think back to your KFA, we know that we have 20 swimmers. An equal number of swimmers are in the deep end and the shallow end of the pool. How many swimmers are in each end of the pool? So that's our question. This is what we're trying to find. And so we would use our question to help us write an answer statement. So to do that, we would take how many people are in each end of the pool, or each end, how many swimmers are on each end of the pool. So we would say there are blank swimmers on each end of the pool. It's so important for you to also rewrite your question as an answer statement so that you can remember what it is that you're looking for to answer. And it's reasonable and makes sense. So we're going to take what we know about the problem. Again, remember, we have 20 swimmers. So I'm going to come down here and just draw myself an example of what I'm visualizing here. So I'm using a tape diagram. Sometimes they call these bar diagrams. This bar diagram is going to be a bar of the pool. I'm just thinking, okay, here are 20 swimmers in the pool. Now, if you remember back to the problem, it also mentions there are 2 parts to the pool. Now, it didn't say 2, but it gives you shallow end and deep end. And so they don't give us another number to use, but they give us the idea of 2 parts. So this being the shallow end, and I'm just going to put S-H-A-L, and this being the deep end of the pool. That's 2 parts. So what I'm doing here is this is an example of a division problem. So we're being introduced to the idea of division. And when we say we have 20 total swimmers, that's what division is. Just like subtraction, we start with our total, and we're taking it apart into 2. These are my 2 parts, or my 2 groups. And with division, it's just the opposite of multiplication. We're looking for the number of swimmers in each group. Number in each group. And when we say the group for this particular problem, we're talking about the deep end and the shallow end being the 2 groups. So there's 2 groups. We want to know how many are going to be in each group. And it says they're equal numbers. So we're partitioning these 20 into equal amounts. So if I take and divide 20 into 2 equal parts, I know I have 10 and 10, because 10 and 10 makes 20. So 2 groups of 10, this is how multiplication and division work with each other. 2 groups of 10 2 groups of 10 is the same as 20 total. So when I'm using division, I'm actually using the opposite or the reverse of multiplication. I'm starting with my total, I'm putting the total into 2 groups, and I'm finding how many are in each group. So now I can come back up here and I can say there are 10 swimmers on each end of the pool, because if I divide 20 into, if I divide 20 into 2 equal groups, there will be 10 in each group. And so now we've taken our understanding of multiplication and used it in reverse to take the total, put it into groups, and now we know the number in each group. So make sure that you have an answer statement with your explanation. If you need to, also draw yourself a visual and apply it to an equation. Make sure you have an equation to go with that. So basically what I've seen in this particular equation is this is the part of my equation that I was missing. And that is what would go here in that equation. Now, let's take a look at the next problem. It's an addition sentence, so we're looking for the sum. We have 2 addends. What are they called? Yes, addends. So we're going to take 222 objects, and we're going to add to those 222 objects 37 more. Now, notice that I didn't say how many more objects. We're not looking for the difference. We're looking for how many does this included with this make together, all together, total, sum. So we're looking for my sum. I'm going to put an S there for sum. And there's a couple of different ways that we could approach this. We could take the 222 and add 30 to my tens place here, which is 20. And when I add 30 to 20, I have 252. I could take my 252 and add 7 more, and here is my 37. And so I add 7 more to my 2, which is my ones place, and when I add 7 and 2, I now have 759. Now, I could also use the break apart strategy. Now, since we don't have any hundreds here, there isn't any sense of me putting a hundreds place. So I'm just going to include that 100 with my tens. And I'm going to say 220. I'm going to say 220, and I'm going to add this 30 onto the 220. So 220 plus 30 is 250, which is what I had here, 250. But now I'm going to take that 250, or excuse me, now I'm going to take my ones, and I'm going to add my ones as 7 and 2, and that's going to give me 9. And when I put the 250 and the 9 back together, I get 259. So as an algorithm, I remind myself that I'm going to use place value to also explain this thinking. I'm lining up my ones and my tens and my hundreds, if I had a hundreds place with here. Make sure that you start here in your ones. That's just in case you have regrouping. So 7 and 2 would give me 9. 30 and 20, and remember this isn't 2 plus 3, it's 20 plus 30 because we're in the tens place, is going to give me 50. And I don't have any other hundreds to add, so my hundreds place is going to be 259. When I add it all together, I have 259. Again, still should match what we've been doing with the other strategies that we're working with. So my sum is 259. The next problem is asking us to round to the closest 10. So I know my tens place is right here. And so when I round to the closest 10, I have to first decide what two tens 166 falls between. So I know it's going to be between 160 and the next 10 would be 170 because I have 160 right here. So again, remind yourself that in the middle of every group of tens is 5. So I have 165 in the middle. 166 is right after 165. So this tells me I'm going to round up to 170. 341, I have 340. So 340, and my next group of 10 is 350. Again, between each group of tens is going to be 345. Now, where does 341 lie? Well, it's about right here. So we know that it's 1 away from 340, but it's 9 away from 350. So 341 is definitely closer to 340. And now when I take and add, my 100 and my 300 is 400. My 70 and my 40 is 110. And how do I know that? Is because 70 plus 30 is a new 100, and 40 is just one more 10. So 110, and I don't have any ones because we're rounding. And so when I put this together, 400 plus 100 is 500, and 10 more makes 510. So if I find the exact amount of 166 and 341, it's going to be close to 510. Well, let's double check and see. So if I take this 166 or 341, I'm going to put the 341 first because I like putting my larger number. I know that 6 and 1 is 7. 60 and 40 is a new 100, which tells me I'm going to regroup that 100 to the tens place because it takes 10 tens to make a new 100. And I definitely have that. So now I'm going to take my 300, my 100, and my 100, and now I have 500s. So 507 is close to 510. So we must have estimated or rounded each number correctly since our exact amount is very close to our estimated rounded amount. Okay? Now we're multiplying a number times 10. So one group of 10 is 10. Two groups of 10 is 20. Three groups of 10 is going to be 30. Now, just a reminder, you could break these up into 5 times 3 and 5 times 3. This is something that we were talking about earlier with our distributive property. 5 times 3 is 15, and another 5 groups. So if we were to think about this as 10 rows of 3, we could break up those 10 rows as 5 rows of 3 and another 5 rows of 3. So just something to think about is most people do know their multiples of 10, But you also know multiples of 5 too. So 5 groups of 3 or 3 groups of 5 would be 15. And 5 groups of 3 or 3 groups of 5 would also be 15. And when you take 15 and 15, 10 and 10 is 20, and 5 and 5 is another 10. So 20 and 10 makes your 30, because you're taking and regrouping that 10 to the tens place. So just another way of thinking about it, and using your understanding of the break apart strategy to kind of keep that solid understanding of how to break apart a larger factor into 2 smaller add-ins. So that's it for Tuesday. We will come back for Wednesday, and we will do some more DMA problems, and we're going to keep those skills up, getting ready for 4th grade. Have a great day.